Hello, and welcome back to our last and final episode of Furry Friday. I saved the best for last, so this time we're going to be talking about Carnivora, which is basically just cats and dogs and bears and everything that eats meat. Some of them don't, but. So, talking about their taxonomy, they first appeared about 60 to 40 million years ago, and there's more than 270 species. They're all classified as meat eaters by their name, but some of them are actually just omnivores. Like I said, bears or like raccoons, they feed extensively on vegetation, so that it's not just meat eaters. But there's suborders that we modern day look at carnivores and categorize them by. There's Caniformia and Feliformia, basically canines and felines. It includes 12 different families. 9 of them are on land, and the others are in the sea. So Pinnipedia is seals, and they're in the sea. But so there's dogs and cats, bears, raccoons. Then there's weasels, badgers, otters, and then there's skunks, stink badgers, mongooses, and then civets, genets, and then those look like cats, and then hyenas. So more about their taxonomy that I wanted to talk about, but it couldn't fit on the last slide. Like I said, the felines and the canines are divided, and the way that they are divided is based on the structure of the auditory bullae, which is the bony capsule inside of their middle ear, and also their carotid circulation, which is basically on the sides of your neck. It delivers blood to your brain and head, so it differs between the two different suborders. So some about their natural history, just some interesting facts. They exhibit a lot of different degrees of social behavior. So some of them are solitary, such as bears, and some of them are colonial. If you think about prides of lions, some also go through long distance migrations to follow their prey. Some of them stay in a certain area. So they are really diverse, which is an interesting part about their order. Domestic cats and other carnivores that hunt small rodents can actually hear ultrasounds that are emitted by prey. Some of them do visual signaling to other animals through body posturing. And then there's also tactile signals. So for example, an interesting one is that wolves will lick and bite the muzzle of a dominant individual, which you can see in this picture, just to show submission. So it's not an aggressive behavior, it's to show that they see the other animal, the other wolf, as dominant. They also have a bunch of different means of capturing their prey. So some of them will ambush, and then some of them chase and eventually tire out their prey until they can't run anymore. This is what you'll see a lot of the times with lions and a lot of cat species. They just chase them until the gazelle, for example, is too tired to keep running. So talking about their habitat and distribution, they're pretty much everywhere. The only place that they didn't naturally occur was Australia, and the dingo, which is the only carnivore here, was introduced about 4,000 years ago by humans. They occupy every single type of terrestrial habitat: forests, deserts, mountains, grasslands, scrublands, tundra, and open ice, so polar bears. In their different ecosystems, they actually act as top-down controls keystone species, and they control a lot of the herbivores beneath them that they prey on. So they're really important to a lot of these different habitats that they're in. And if you look at this picture, you can see in Africa there's a high number of species and density of carnivores, but they really are pretty much everywhere. So talking about their morphology a little bit, I'll move my picture if I can. So they have prominent canines and carnassials, and then their molars are blade-like and suited for cutting instead of our molars are suited for grinding, but theirs literally just shear against each other because they have to eat so much protein that's found in the meat that they eat that they have to be able to effectively consume it, and part of the digestion process is the breaking down in the mouth mechanically. That's what I was looking for. They actually cannot move their lower jaws side to side like we can. So if you think about your dog, you're not going to see your dog grinding back and forth with its jaw. It can only go up and down. Some of them walk on their toes like cats and dogs, but then some of them walk flat on their feet like humans, which is bears. I have a good picture of the plantigrade versus digitigrade form of foot. So digitigrade, this is what cats do, dogs do, but then plantigrade, which is what bears do, have that fully on the ground. All carnivores actually have scent glands in their anal regions and mark territories through this. And then most of them also have an os baculum, which is thought to be used for prolonged copulation, especially in carnivores that induce ovulation during copulation, which is some of them. The central, scaphoid, and lunar carpals of the wrist are also fused into a single element, and it's thought that the clavicle is reduced so that the stride can be increased. So when they're like chasing, especially like the carnivores that chase after their prey, this is important. And they also have characteristic claws, and some of them have vestigial. It's called a dew claw. Like if you look at your dog at home or your cat at home, it's that little claw toe that's like further up on the wrist. That's also characteristic of carnivores. Next, we'll talk about. Oh my goodness, did I go too far? Go back. There we go. Next, reproduction. So most of them bear young one time a year. Oh, these pictures are so cute. And most of them are born small and helpless, and they're looked after for a really long time by their mothers. A lot of the times, this like raising process includes a time for like learning some of the important skills like hunting, and the things that they use to survive. So some, such as like wolves and lions, live in big groups, like I said, like a pride, and they help each other rear and protect the young. Some are solitary, like bears or cats, and they're usually what they call promiscuous, so they'll have multiple partners during the breeding season to increase the chance of successful reproduction. And female carnivores gestation usually lasts up to like 15 months, and they provide their young, like all other mammals, with milk after birth, and like I said, take care of them for a long time. And instead of fun facts, I wanted to talk about saber teeth because I found something really interesting in an article that I was reading. But we think about saber-toothed tigers, which it wasn't just saber-toothed tigers. Saber teeth was characteristic of a bunch of different animals way back, a bunch of different carnivores way back, where they had these huge, like serrated inner edges. They were super sharp, which made them kind of fragile. These huge canines, and it was a phenomenon that they even evolved that way because it's too large for any jaw, especially because it causes like they can't close their mouth correctly. It seems too large for the jaw, like for like carcasses, killing extra large prey. Like they were trying to take a lot of guesses as to like what kind of prey they were eating with that. It was always the largest like top predator that had these saber teeth. But we know that because they were fragile, because of the sharpness and the serrated inner edges, they had to have been like useless against thicker skin or on larger bodies. So it left researchers wondering why they had them. Like obviously they were effective weapons because they evolved several different times independently of each other. So basically the modern thought is that there was some kind of like Achilles heel of the prey back then that these saber teeth were used against, and eventually the prey kind of evolved or developed a response to that in that like arms race for the best like machinery to hunt prey, the saber teeth eventually fell off because the prey evolved a response to whatever it was that the saber teeth were so effective on. But it's really interesting to look into. So I hope you guys enjoyed this particular video, but also all of my videos. This is the last one. I've had a lot of fun learning about all of the different orders. I feel like I honestly got to learn about all the ones, maybe minus primates, but I really got to